My name is Christina. I am a photographer, and I mostly do kind of street style and backstage work at fashion weeks. And I work at the 4 main fashion weeks and some of the smaller ones as well. So we're photographing people on the street to show fashion trends. You know, if I'm shooting people arriving at Off-White, they're going to look very different to the people arriving at Chanel. Sometimes you forget that you're in these cities, and sometimes I take a moment and I'm like, whoa, I'm in New York, you know? Or whoa, I'm in Milan and I see this crazy architecture, and so what I do is I try to get the person to look a bit smaller and then frame them at the bottom of the image, so like this. So that I can see the architecture here, and I didn't even ask her to stand there, and she's looking up and it's a really nice moment and something that's quiet, and the outfit looks good. And then this is an extreme example of that, which I probably wouldn't send to a client. It's more an image that I really like, where she's tiny but the scale of the building is just incredible. So things like that get me excited. Certain people that are always very dressed very well, and then fun moments where we're shooting outside a show and there's all these builders and they're like, what the hell's going on? And we're like, it's fashion week, and they're like, we want to be in a photo, and that excites me. Shooting the detail stuff, I've taken me a while to kind of figure out how I like to shoot my detail stuff, and evidently I like to frame it very heavily. It was literally walking through a crowd, intense crowd, walking towards a door, and I remember following her the whole time, and then every time I saw the clip I was click, click, and then moving around and between people, and then they kind of move out my way because they see me, and then I'm and I get the, and then that was the one I picked. For me, street style is where documentary meets fashion. That's what it is. A lot of the time it is staged, you know, I do say to Courtney, okay, stand here and, you know, I'm going to take a picture of you, and she's good at making this face, so she'll do this thing. And yes, it is posed, but every now and then it's not. It's just an absolute moment, you know? This is a moment, it's not staged. So I get to go out and take these documentary type pictures, but people are all dressed very well, and it looks like fashion, and it's my worlds collided, and I love it, you know? I think in the beginning when we first kind of launched the No Free Photos thing, there was a bit of a little awkward moment. It's been a year since we launched that movement, just over a year. And actually, I think the relationship between us as photographers and the people attending the shows we've all gotten much closer. We're all friends now, you know, which is really nice because we created a space for a discussion. And one thing that we've all done, all the street style photographers, is we've put in our Instagram bio, images cannot be used without explicit permission, contact for licensing, which is another thing that also kind of helps with Instagram, because then if people come back to me and they say we didn't know, I say it's in my bio, which is my all rights reserved sign essentially. If it gets published, because of who I'm shooting for, it gets published on that website. So a lot of my pictures that end up on Dazed, people are reblogging, but they're not looking at the credit. They just tag Dazed, which is frustrating, but you have to pick your battles. Hard to say that for yourself, you know, because as the more you kind of climb up the ladder, the more you're I'm so far from the top. But if I stop and I look back at where I was desperate to be published here and desperate to be published there, and now I'm published in Purple magazine, all digital, and Love magazine and Days magazine, you know, and I'm on Farfetch and I'm on Mr. Porter, and it's exciting. So I think all of these things are a fucking huge accomplishment, excuse my language. I'm very proud of myself for having shot for Days. That's a very cool thing for me. The fact that I can Google my name and then it comes up with Days is just very cool for me. I think, you know, that was when I was studying, I was this is such a cool magazine. But my proudest accomplishment is the fact that I'm now no longer working in a bar as of 10 months. It's the first time in my life where I'm so solely financially dependable off of my photographs. And then I guess the Queen, that photo of the Queen. I took a photo of the Queen of England, which was crazy. It was crazy. I felt pretty good about it. I squealed a lot. Yeah, I screamed. I said, fuck, fuck, fuck. And then my friend was like, you can't say fuck in front of the Queen. And then I was like, shit. And then I was like, big up. Big up, Queenie.